This movie was announced like 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So why did it take so long to get it done?
I mean, I've been involved in the film for probably a little over 3.5 years. Before myself, there was Sam Raimi was attached to it. And I think, when Sam was involved, I think they were working on a very different version of the film. And it wasn't quite, not everyone involved was seeing it the same way. And then Sam went off and did the Wizard of Oz movie. And there was a little lull while they were deciding what to do next. And that's when I came in and sort of suggested maybe this is a way to approach it. And fortunately, the way I saw it was very much, it's in parallel with the way Blizzard, the guys who made the game, saw the film, what they wanted the film to be. And I think once myself and Blizzard were kind of on the same page, and we kind of both understood what we thought the film should be, and the fact that I was a long-time Warcraft fan, I think that made things move much faster.
Yes, you have been a fan, obviously, of
the
game for a long time.
Yes.
Are you a person that would sit it like for hours and hours and hours and
I did that. I don't have time to do it anymore, but I did, and I actually played the game 20 years ago when the very first sort of real-time strategy version of the game came out.
So what does it feel like now, making that into a movie? Is it a little scary too? Because there's so many fans out there that you need to please.
I mean, just to throw a number at you, from what I understand, 100 million people have played Warcraft over its lifetime. So, yeah, there's a lot of fans out there, and there's a lot of people who are curious to see what our version of Warcraft is. But as a fan myself, and as someone who really, loved inhabiting that world, I really believe that this is a place that fans will go to and feel like they're at home.
Yeah, how do you're making just a 2-hour movie out of something that I imagine is much bigger than that.
Yeah.
How did you go around that?
How do we
get
it down to the essence?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as I mentioned, Warcraft as a game has been around for 20 years. There's been 20 years of story writing and telling over that time. There's a lot to choose from and a lot of characters that they've created over that time. But what we decided to do is to go back to the very beginning of the story, the very first game, and the idea of when this orc culture and human culture met for the first time, that first contact moment. And I think that immediately narrowed down what the story was going to be and which characters would be involved. And then it was really about, okay, how can we get the most exciting and most interesting story out of this initial contact moment.
So you were just talking about silver pajamas.
Silver pajamas, yeah.
I've been talking to the others about that too. So for you as a director,
Yeah.
directing people in silver pajamas,
Yeah.
which is a big part of this job.
Yeah.
What is that like? How do you get people to actually get emotions out when they're looking?
I think the first thing that you can do is you put the silver pajamas on yourself and you go out and you do it yourself in front of the actors so they know that you're willing to do it, so they have to be willing to do it. I think that's one of the things that helps out. I think you have to be able to lose all of your inhibitions because it almost becomes like a stage play. I think when you're wearing that, you're not able to become the character by putting on the wardrobe, by putting on the costume. So you have to be willing to see it in your mind. And obviously I can bring illustrations and I can have, a screen where they can see what their character looks like, but they just have to, they just have to act.
They do. And imagine, I guess.
And imagine, absolutely. And I'll try and give them as much support as I can. I think the important thing is if the characters feel three-dimensional and if the actors understand, who the character is and what their motivation is, I think you can kind of put all of that aside and you just know what it is that the character wants and where they want to get to.
Because you're building kind of this fantasy world that's not there yet. How do you...
Well, as much as possible. I mean, you just look around this room. We have little pieces of some of our sets. And, as much as possible, we would be shooting in big, beautiful set environments. So the environment was real. It was some of the characters who were where most of our special effects work went. Our orcs were motion captured, but we would shoot them in live action environments as much as possible.
Wow. That's amazing, actually, how everything is turned into like...
Yeah, it's kind of inside out now.
Yeah.
It's reversed.
Yeah. So You co-wrote this as well, didn't you? Or did
I did, yeah. I came on board after. There was also already a pre-existing script, but the reason that I was kind of brought into the fold was I had a take on the story which required a rebalancing of the film, because originally it was more humans being the heroes and orcs being, you know, monsters, and I think I turned the balance, so it was more about orcs and humans, really balancing the film between these two different groups and seeing heroes on both sides.
So now we don't really know who to root for.
I think you do, and I think that's part of my job as a director, to sort of bring the audience along through the story and introduce the characters in such a way that the audience can sort of be shown where their loyalties should lie. But I think the interesting thing is obviously that they have a certain assumption about what is good and evil at the start of the movie, and hopefully over the course of the film those things change.